Welcome to the Grand Prix Project podcast.
Welcome once again to the Grand Prix Project podcast. This is the Monaco Grand Prix review with me, your host, Andre Miller, and the big bro.
Thanos. This might be the shortest podcast we ever do.
Yeah, Monaco Grand Prix is what you call, I could have stayed in bed, right?
That's what you call, yeah, I could have gone out and done something with my life. That was 2 hours of my life that I can't get back. You know what I mean? I put it this, well, or we can just say, well, that's a wrap. That's the Monaco Grand Prix review podcast over and done with, because that was terrible.
Yeah,
but Sunday was terrible.
Yeah, and are we to blame? Because ultimately, we know this is what it is every year. So it's like we know we still give up tours of our life on a Sunday, ain't it? Hey, for the love of F1, right?
True. I think it's more for the love of the sport rather than the fact that we want to see we expect anything good is going to come of it. But you know, it is. I don't even know what to say about that damn place.
That's what we call hoping. We don't want to miss it because maybe it's hope something happens that spices up, right?
Yeah, well, they say if man had hope as small as a mustard seed, he could move mountains. Right now, our hope of the Monaco Grand Prix is even smaller than a mustard seed. And if you know small a mustard seed is, you know smaller, that means our hope is even smaller. So, yeah, that was bad, man. That was absolutely bad. It just, yeah. I think the only excitement in the race was George Russell just took the piss. He just said, screw it. Give me the penalty. I'm going to do whatever. I'm just going to do whatever because, you know what I mean, what we're doing here, nothing's coming of it. But anyway,
might as well, right?
We get into that.
Let's get into it. So Norris, I know I beat him down a lot. Put it together. Monaco of all places really actually strung a good weekend together. Record-breaking pole position, right? Lap time?
Yeah, I think it's the first 1 minute sub 70 second lap for the track. He did a 109.9 something. Funny enough, when you look at it, because Lewis had the record from, I think, 2019. Yeah. Both him and Charles broke the lap record. And Charles finished second, qualified second. Charles did a 110.063. I believe the record before that from Lewis was a 110.2 or something like that. I believe it was. Okay. And, you know, both of them broke the record. So, I mean, going back, remember what I said to you the last episode when it comes to, what's his name? Lando. That, okay, yeah, Lewis did a 110.166 in 2019, and Charles did a Charles did a 10.063. So Charles barely broke it by less than a tenth. But anyway, remember what I said to you the last episode, which was that was Imola. I said to you, the thing with Lando is he just needs a clean weekend. He just needs one where everything just goes his way. There's no hiccups. His qualifiers go smoothly, and he can just have a nice, clean weekend. That will kind of rebuild his confidence. Even though I don't think his confidence was down, I think his problem was, like he said, qualifying was really starting to get on his nerves, to be honest. And you know, he delivered a lap that, let's be honest, when Charles did his lap his first run in Q3, and when Charles did in the final run, when Charles did that lap, and took pole because Charles went purple in the middle sector. Because even on that run, you saw Lewis at the end of sector 2, he was like less than a tenth off the provisional pole time, which was Lando's time. And you think, oh shit, can Lewis sneak it? And then behind him, you see Charles go a full tenth and a half in sector 2, which when you watch the whole qualifying, the whole entire weekend, the sector 2 was where the McLaren was really strong, sector 2 and 3. The Ferrari was strong in sector 1 mainly. And to see him go 10th and a half in sector 2, and you're like, whoa, okay, put it on provisional pole. Lando's coming around next. He was down in sector 2 because I think his sector 2 time was amber, yellow, which means, if I'm not mistaken, it means you haven't even matched your personal best for that zone. But yet still, I don't know what he did in that sector 3 and just blitzed it. And the funny part about it, he didn't have a single purple sector on that pole lap. Not one. But what he had though was mini sectors, because you know they do them by mini sectors. So he had mini. So I guess in the last mini sector of sector 3, that's where he went really purple and kind of like snatched it by a tenth. And I think he deserved it because the entire weekend he looked like he had the pace. Granted, I probably thought Charles was the one that was going to put it on pole because he looked like he was in the groove. He was quick on every compound he went on. And I thought, Charles definitely went in as favourites. But the McLaren were never out of the equation, nor even Max. I said wasn't even out of the equation, but his run, I believe Max's best time was set on the medium tyres. I could be wrong. But his time went off on the softs. He couldn't find any improvements. Lewis, pretty much, like I said, Lewis time went to, I think if Lewis was able to maintain that deficit at the end of sector 2, which was less than a tenth, he'd have out-qualified Piastri. But it wasn't to be. At least he got he got Max and qualified P4. So, qualifying was where the excitement was, and it didn't fail to deliver. Granted, you look at the Mercedes, didn't make it through. Neither Mercedes made it through. George retired with some mechanical, or apparently his battery, so he couldn't finish the qualifying. Kimi had a turbo qualifying session where they qualified 14th and 15th, respectively. Or didn't Kimi crash? I believe Kimi crashed. Or could be. I don't even remember. That's how boring it was. I don't even remember anything. So, yeah. So so again, kudos to Lando, man. He did what he needed to do, and it's something like I said, I've been calling for all along. That he just needs to just go through the whole session clean, no incidents, and just put it on pole, and just have a comfortable win. Because when he's out in the lead, his Sundays aren't a problem, because he has demonstrated it continuously that on Sundays he has a race pace that can win races. So hats off to him, man. Delivered when he needed it. And Piastri didn't really have the best of weekends as well, because he crashed in I can't remember which one of the sessions he crashed in. So, he didn't have a smooth weekend himself, but that's off to Lando. Well done to him.
Yeah, kudos to him. He just need to do that consistently now throughout the rest of the season.
Yep. Gonna look at like how does that impact on his confidence, and we'll know that. Grant, it's a triple header, so we're coming to the end of the triple header now with this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. So let's see if he carries that performance into this weekend, because if he does, and he does it and he goes ahead and wins the race, he's back in the lead of the championship. He's only 3 points off the lead now, so
yeah. Let's see what he does. He said if he could go one more, if he could win this weekend, that's a major confidence booster, because if he finishes in front of his teammate this weekend, he leads the championship.
Yep. It's only 3 points behind, and when you look at it, he's only won now 2 races out of the 8. Piastri has 4, Max 2, him 2. So is it 8? Was it 8? Is it 8 races? Yeah.
I think we're at eight races.
Yeah, 8. Yeah, so he's 1, 2, Max 2, and Oscar 4. So, to still be where he is despite his issues on a Saturday, I think it shows that, he still has he has the mental fortitude to carry it, to do what needs to be done. And it shows you just how good the McLaren is. That even when you qualify badly, it's pretty much you're guaranteed to be on the podium if your race is run properly. I mean, the only podium he's missed was it Bahrain? Yeah, I believe Bahrain was the only time he hasn't been on the podium. So, let's see how it goes for him.
Well, that's true unless it's Monaco.
What do you mean?
You say
no? He was on the podium in Bahrain. Saudi Arabia was the one he hasn't been on the podium.
No, I'm saying that theory only rings true unless it's Monaco.
What's that? What theory is that?
That McLaren is good even if you qualify bad, you miss a podium.
Yeah, true. Yeah, as we know, Monaco, where you qualify is pretty much where you're going to end up come checkered flag on Sunday, provided you don't have a botch pit stop or an accident or something like that, or get caught up by a safety car.
Yep.
And get jumped. So if it's just run as a normal conventional race, no incidents whatsoever, you're pretty much where you qualify is where it's going to finish. So
yep.
Yeah.
So he leads the championship by 3 points. Landon Norris. So.
No, he trails by 3 points.
He trails by 3 points. Piastri leads by 3 points. Mm-hmm. Right. But yeah, let's see how that unfolds through the rest of the season. He's clawed back a lot of points over the past 2 weekends. Mm-hmm. And then...
What's that? He's clawed back what? 13 points over 2 weekends? Because it was 16 going into Imola. So...
Yeah, and then let's see how Oscar bounce back from those defeats, those past 2 defeats as well.
Yeah, because and I said this to you before, Oscar's gonna have his run where things aren't going his way, and the question will be, how does he deal with those moments?
Yeah.
Will he still remain calm and just go through the process as normal and just know that, okay, this is a phase, I can get out of this. If I just keep doing what I've been doing all along, things will turn around? Or will he start to panic, or will he get flustered or whatever? So once his moment comes...
I think he's a cool character, cool operator.
Yeah, yes, but the question, he's cool, but we don't know how calm he is when he's really under pressure. When the pressure is piled on. Because if it gets to a stage whereby even Max is now in the fold on a regular basis, how is he going to deal with having to battle Max and Lando at the same time? And if Ferrari ever decides they want to fix that pile of junk they have, and then Charles and Lewis is in the mix, then how does he deal with that situation now? So,
yeah,
let's see how it goes.
If there's one of the two, I'd say got the mental fortitude for that long haul in terms of being under that type of pressure. I would put my money on us.
Okay. Yeah, but I still don't know why people don't give that to the same benefit to Lando. But
yeah. I just don't, because Oscar, it just seems like when it comes down to that mental toughness and I just think he's got it over Lando, but I ain't gonna harp on that. That's just my pick. If it comes down to pressure, if it comes down to someone breathing down your neck, I just prefer. I'd rather put him into battle over Lando in that situation.
Well, let's see how it goes.
And let's see if I'm proven wrong.
Yeah, well, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes.
So yeah, as I said, Lando won. Piastri finished what, 4th?
No, 3rd.
3rd.
Yeah.
So it was Piastri, 3rd. It's
Piastri, Charles, No, it's Lando, Charles, Piastri, Max, Lewis. I believe it's Hajar. No, was it Hajar in sixth? Yeah, I believe Hajar was in sixth. Hold on a second. Yeah, Hajar sixth, Ocon seventh, Lawson eighth, and the two that followed by the two Williams.
All right, so yeah, that's it for the McLaren. You know, congrats to Lando again.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the top three actually. Right, so yeah, that's it on McLaren side of life. So Lewis Hamilton, right? Lewis Hamilton and his old Ferrari experience with his race engineer.
Ricky, what's his name? Ricky Adami.
Yeah, what's going on there? Are they just trying to find their ways? Their communication issue? What's going on there?
I think it's more. I know there's kind of this whole story around the fact that after the race, Lewis asked the question if Ricky was upset with him, because I normally watch when I watch races, I always watch them with Lewis's on board, and at times the communication is not clear and it's not coming in quick enough. So Lewis will be asking questions and you probably get like a 30-second delay before you hear a response come back. And by that time, it's probably too late for him, you know. And throughout the entire race, I don't think he even know where he was in the race, position-wise. Because there was a point where Ricky said to him that Max was 9 seconds up the road. But he came into the tunnel, and when he exited the tunnel, I believe it was, he saw a Red Bull in front of him, and he's like, hold on a second. I thought you said Max was 9 seconds up the road. But forgetting that was actually Yuki. He was coming up to lap. And then I think there was probably like a 20 to 30 seconds delay. And I believe he came back and he said that was Yuki. And I'm like, by that time, he probably already caught Yuki and passed him already. So it was that information was too late. There were other times he was asking him, you know, how far is he behind? What's his race? Who is he racing? And then it just didn't seem, it seemed like he was just driving without any guidance or input, telling him what's going on around him. So he was the one having to instigate certain things, asking the questions, you know, yo, where am I? What's my pace? What we're doing, etc., etc. And I'm thinking in moments like that, it's probably Ricky who should be leading the conversations. He should be, you know,
especially in Monaco.
Exactly, where, you know, because again, they lapped everyone. The only person who didn't get lapped was Lewis. That's how bad it was. Lewis was the only driver that of everybody up to sixth got lapped. Right? So in a situation like that, I think Ricky should be leading the conversation, just like how when they're doing the practice sessions and the qualifying, and he's telling him, okay, this is the gap to XYZ, this person is coming up behind you, etc., etc., etc. Feed him that information, because he needs that information so he can process what's going on around him. And we saw where that on Saturday, how providing wrong information as well can have an impact on his race, because the impeding penalty that he got, where they gave him a three place grid penalty for impeding Max, which I think, even though I thought Max made it through, so what's the point bother penalizing him? But again, there's a precedence here, so they went by the precedence. Because even Max himself said post qualifying that he didn't think Lewis didn't do anything. It wasn't Lewis's fault, because he heard the radio message and realized, yeah, Lewis was told the right thing at first. You know, because Ricky said to him, Max is on a push lap coming up. He's like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. And then he went, oh, he's slowing down. But Max didn't slow down. Yeah. Lewis then came over the radio, and we heard the radio message. He was a bit annoyed. And that got him a penalty, which basically put him in a disadvantaged position, because obviously if he had stayed where he qualified, he'd have finished the race fourth, which would have been his second highest finished position of the season so far, because he finished fourth in Imola. But I think it seems like a problem, but I think they have to go through this. I think these are what they call it, growing pains.
Yep.
They have to have these moments so their relationship and their understanding can be more fine-tuned, because it was never going to be perfect, because again, he's been working with Bono for 12 years.
Yeah.
You know, working Ricky it's a completely different thing. You have a language barrier as well. Whilst Ricky speaks English, it's not perfect English, because he'll probably say something and it's misheard, right? Because I saw what's his name? I think it's Mark Hughes or Jonathan or Noble. He was having a conversation with Damien Hill, and he recalled a moment where Monaco Grand Prix, Oliver Panis, and his race engineer was having a back conversation, and I can't remember what he said. The race engineer said to Panis, and only for Panis to pull up in the pits, and the engineer went like, "Why did you pit?" And he said, "Oh, you said the brakes were failing." And he said, "No, he said brakes, but not bricks. You know what I mean? Not BRAKES. He said something else. I'd have to try and find it, but I'd advise anybody to go and look. I think it's Mark Hughes's Twitter account, X account, where he mentioned it. So and again, so there was a language barrier there, and that created confusion. And Lewis and Adama will have that. Whilst it did annoy me, you know, and obviously you know me, I vent on X all the time, but when I put my rational head on, I can understand what's going on here and realize, look, it was never going to be perfect from the get-go. So let's give them time. I think this is the year, because they're not in a championship challenge right now. So this is the time for them to get these things out of the way. And so when they do get to a point whereby, if Ferrari builds a good enough car next year to compete, these things won't be happening anymore, because they've gone through them. They've highlighted where improvements can be made and so on. Because even for all the years Lewis was with Bono, he still talked about they can improve their communication. So, you know, let's see how it goes forward. But it was a costly mistake from Adami on Saturday, I mean. Which is why I said this needs to happen now, because if you're in a championship fight, you can't make mistakes like that. You cannot make mistakes like that, because imagine if this was a title challenge and Max was his title rival. He's qualified ahead of him, and because of that mistake, you've now cost him. Rather than him finishing, for fourth you get 12 points, for fifth you get 10, right? So rather than him gaining 2 points on Max, it's a net negative 4-point loss for him. It would have been for him. So these things can't happen, but you know, it's the name of the game.
Mm-hmm. All right, and so yeah, I guess, you know, it was expected. It was expected. When in a whole different situation, whole different language, whole different culture. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. So hopefully they figure it out. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Professionals, man. They've been at it for so many years. They know what's required of each other. And I think it's just to put them head together. And this was always going to be part of the massive learning curve for Lewis, because it's a new culture for him. It's a cultural shift. Staying in McLaren and Mercedes is somewhat of an English culture, because your race engineer at McLaren was English, your race engineer at Mercedes was English. The core of that is kind of like an English culture. So moving to Italy, where that's completely different, this was always going to happen.
Yeah.
So they just need to fix it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's it. There's not a lot to go on here. We already seen the problem, as you say. They'll fix it over in due time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now they had to do a mandatory 2 pit stops in the Monaco Grand Prix. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And did you think it made a difference?
No.
For the previous years?
No. Because if you look at the opening salvo of the race, I believe it was Behrman who pitted first, and he came back out in a nice clean air. And he did a 1 minute 15. Lando was doing a 1 minute 19 on that exact same lap. So it just shows you how slow he was driving. And that goes back to previous years. That's exactly how they used to drive. Slow as hell. It was never really going to make a difference. Because like as we said in the space, all they were there, because what I thought would have happened was, because they had to do the mandatory stops, they would have been pushing from the get-go. So they can spread the field out, so they can find themselves a window in which to drop into and, not get affected by overcut or undercut. That wasn't the case. It just basically worked out to be just like previous years. What I think they probably should have done was say, okay, you have to take your first stop within the first 10 to 15 laps of the race. And I think by saying that, then the driver at the front would be thinking, okay, well, what I'm going to have to do then, I'm going to have to basically pump this for the first 15 laps. I'm just going to have to go full out so I can build myself a window where I can drop back in. When I decide to pit, I can drop back in, and I know that I won't lose any position. I won't pull up to any back in traffic or anything like that. So it gives me, so if you say you pit on lap 10, but you can find a window where you have like a 6 or 7 seconds gap. So if you pit, you come back out 7 seconds behind somebody. That gives you a nice clear ear to like pump in some quick laps, so you cover yourself from any potential undercut or overcut. That's what I think they probably should have done. Mandated, rather than telling, just saying you should have done 2 stops, or even say, you know what, you have to use all 3 compounds in the race and then leave it at that. I just think the mandatory thing, it seemed like a gimmick, and I've argued this case many times. Just tell them use all 3 compounds. End the story.
To be honest.
So when you go somewhere like a Bahrain, where you probably won't even use the soft tires because it won't last that long, you still have to use it. So you create a jeopardy there. Because teams are going to have to think, okay, do I go with the soft at the start, the middle, or at the end of the race? How do we work this? Because the softest, whatever softest compounds they use in Bahrain, it's going to degrade real quickly. Let them use all 3.
I see where you're going with it, but would that have made a difference? Because even if you're the guy in front on the soft, you're still gonna just crawl.
Yeah,
it's
again.
To be honest, I don't have an answer to Monaco. I think what I've come to, the conclusion that I've come to for Monaco, right? Monaco is just an expo. An annual expo for fast cars, lavish things, big yachts.
Mm-hmm.
The richest of the richest come out and enjoy their weekend. Monaco is more about that and less about racing.
Yeah, because if you have to remember, the origin of most motorsports was based on a playboy lifestyle. Rich people who can afford to go racing, and they turn up and they have the champagne and they whatever. I think the Monaco weekend reflects that. Everybody turns up. You see the richest of the rich, the biggest yachts, the biggest super ships, whatever. It's a flex of who has who can be more ostentatious, I think is the word. And that's what it comes down to.
And also for regular people who probably can afford to go there, just to experience that.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah, it's an experience. So for me, which is why before we started recording, I was saying they always knew what the problems of Monaco is, right? And if they really, really wanted to change Monaco after all these years of racing, they would have done something about it.
Yeah, because look, I hear people keep saying the cars are too big for the circuit, etc., etc., etc. But I said, but if you go back to when they had the more smaller, nimbler cars, if you go back to 96, 97, the early 2000s, the racing was just as bad. The racing was no different. The only difference we had back then was refueling. So, and even then, when you had refueling, it was even worse. Because it was kind of like a time trial. That's what it is. You look at the 2007 Monaco Grand Prix. Lewis was probably faster than Alonso that race weekend, especially in the race, but he could never pass him. He could never pass. Go back and just look how many overtakes we've had in Monaco. It's never been the idea about smaller cars or whatever. I just don't think that makes any difference. This is just the nature of the circuit. You go back to the 90s. It's the same thing. The difference where you found overtaking would happen more is because you had a disparity between the cars in terms of performance. I believe Ruth Boscombe, I can't remember who she was strategy engineer for. She tweeted that in Monaco you need a 4-second lap delta over the next car to overtake.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we had when you go back to the turbo era. The 91s, and all of those era, everybody talks about that Senna lap from, I can't remember what year it was, where it was 1.4 second. You're not going to find that now. So, and the cars are so evenly matched pace-wise, again, from first to the worst car in the grid is probably covered by, 2 seconds.
Yeah, because
you're not going to find, so how is that really going to make a difference? But anyway, say what you have to say, because I think I saw something from Alex Furtz that I want to talk about as well.
Yeah, this is how bad it is, right? You remember what happened in 2011?
2011.
Seb versus Alonso.
Yeah.
Seb tires were literally
bald.
Done. And Alonso could not pass this for nothing. And Seb tires were literally on Skittles. He was driving on Skittles.
But that's not even the worst one. That's not even the worst example. The worst example is Ricciardo in 2018. That man won the race where he didn't have any errors. All he had was the 600 bhp. Who finished second? Can't remember who finished second. I think it was Seb who finished second. Had the full complement, but couldn't pass him. Mm-hmm. So it shows you it's not so much about the size of the car or whatever it is. It's just the nature of the track. It's not conducive to overtaking.
And you had mentioned something as well in your spaces. I guess they're going to keep it because, as you said, it's part of the Triple Crown, right?
Yeah. They're not going to get rid of it for that.
Yeah, Indy 500, Le Mans 24 Hours, and Monaco itself.
Monaco. And again, there's only one man that's ever done that. What's his? Graham Hill.
Right. And,
Is it Graham Hill? Yeah, I believe so.
It's like, I guess I just have to understand it and accept it. I just got to understand the purpose of the Monaco Grand Prix and accept what the Monaco Grand Prix is, and just know that I just have to experience it one per year. If you ask me, it being part of the Triple Crown is just like, for what? Like, there's nothing exciting about the Monaco GP for it to be that prestigious, right? But as I said, it's history, and it's been there, and it's where it's just one of them ones where it's just, if you're talking about just a lifestyle where you go, where the one that you attend to just see everything that you probably would never see on a regular day.
Yeah, because Monica is where the rich and famous are. And again, you have to remember, what's his name? Is it Prince Albert? His name is, if I'm not mistaken, his mother is it Grace Kelly? Is his mother? Again, another famous American actress. I think it's Grace Kelly. Is his mom? But don't quote me on that. But again, Monaco is kind of like, it's the place is just synonymous with ostentatious wealth.
Yeah.
And that's why it's there. It's just it's the glamour of Monaco. Everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to be seen there. That's why it is what it is. But I saw a thing from Alex Verts, and if you remember in the space, I was talking and I said, what I think they probably should do is put a DRS zone in the tunnel, because I remember they had it 1 year. I can't remember what year it was. Put a DRS zone in the tunnel coming down to, what's that? What's the name of that corner? Let me just try and find something, and I'll tell you the name of the corner. It's hold on, because I can't remember off the top. I can't remember the name of the corners. Hold on. Let me just quickly jump on this thing. Yeah, because what's up with this stupid app, man? It keeps, this Twitter thing keeps messing about all the time. But I'm just trying to find. Let me just try and find something, and I'll tell you the name. Okay, so the corner is okay, where did I say? The tunnel. So that would be coming out of the Fairmont Airpin, and then you have the entrance to the tunnel. So I think, why not have a DRS zone there, which then takes you down to, we call it the Nouvelle Chicane, the one that Kimi hit, I believe, in qualifying. It was. And what Verts is proposing is, he has 3 options. He's given 3 ways that he thinks the track can be improved for overtaking. And he's proposing that you actually move that Nouvelle Chicane approximately 80 meters further down, and then reprofile the left-hand corner would be the same, but then the exit of that corner will kind of be reprofiled. So it's a more you carry more speed onto it, because if you look at the Nouvelle Chicane, when you turn left and then you turn right, you turn left then right, and then you do the left. When you're coming out, it's not as, you're not coming out with as much speed. But what he's showing here is, like, once you make the left and you come around, you'll be carrying way more speed onto that straight, which then takes you down to the corner to back, the left, the fast left right. No, that's before you get to the swimming pool. So the fast left-hander, right, before you get to the swimming pool. So, and then he's saying, how about moving, reprofiling Rascasse, which is basically the second to last corner. He's saying, move the the apex, make it a bit wider, right? And then he's saying the same thing again for the Fairmont Airpin, which is the slowest part of the track. Widen it. That would kind of like, yeah, that would give you a more chance of attempting an overtake, because we've seen overtakes happen in Fairmont before, right? It's risky, but we've seen it happen before. And I looked at it and I say, you know what? I like the option 1 with moving the Nouvelle Chicane further down. But at the same time, I'd still put a DRS zone in the tunnel. And what I'd do is, I'd have the detection zone be the when when you entry to Fairmont. So when you get to Fairmont, if you're within a second, that's the detection zone. And the activation zone is once you enter the tunnel, that's the activation zone for the DRS, which is basically gives you a long run down to where the new corner would be, chicane corner would be. And I think that would help him overtaking greatly. But, when I said it before we started the speech, you said your question was, yeah, but will they do it? That's the question.
I doubt it.
And that's the question.
Let them surprise me, but I doubt it. I don't. Because for me, what I will say, I think this is the loudest you've heard fans shout
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People used to shout, but I think this year, what happened on Sunday, I think this is because it's still making its rounds even now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think a lot of people are just getting annoyed with it. But what I will say, if you're a racing purist, right, who does not care about the business of F1, you don't care about the lavishness of F1, you just want to see pure racing, do not go to Monaco. You're going to be disappointed. Yep. As you can already see on your TV.
Yeah.
So
Monaco is just an experience.
Yeah.
If you go as a fan, it's just an experience.
You want that experience? I guess, yeah. You could go Monaco. You want to see big yachts, expensive cars, watches,
And I think it's probably the closest fans get to the circuit. That's one of the tracks where it's the stands and everything is really close to the circuit. Again, it's a street track, so yeah. But
yeah, so
I think the Vert's proposal should be looked into, and I think because I think he's the head of, I can't remember what, because this is his company, basically.
Yeah,
looking into this, and I think they should look into doing it. And of course, and if they decide, okay, they're gonna do it, how soon can it be done? I don't think it would take that long to be done. It could, maybe not for 2026, but if they approve it, the changes, it could be ready in time for 2027.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Yeah, let's see. He's the chairman of the Grand Prix Drivers Association.
Yeah, the GPDA.
Yeah, so let's see what they do.
Yeah, because George is the president, isn't he?
Yeah, so Monaco, that's it for Monaco. Monaco, right? That's what you get every single year. So let's see if they take any of these ideas into consideration to try and improve the racing.
And if they listen to the fans, because, fans, like you said, fans have been screaming about the quality of the racing there for years, and nothing seems to have changed. And I think for the drivers know the track is terrible for racing, especially on a Sunday. But I think why they like it, again, it's the same thing. It's the glamour, it's the et cetera, the closeness of the walls, and they like that challenge. Because Monaco is more of a driver's track than anything else.
I think if they're even if they were to listen to fans, it's not going to be to fix Monaco.
Well, we can only hope.
Just what Monaco is. I don't think they care about what fans say, bro.
And someone said to me, look, if the other, because of what? We have 24 races. If the other 23 races are good races, you can live with Monaco. You can live with the boredom of the Monaco Grand Prix, knowing it's going to be a boring race, processional. Because everything else would make up for that. You're not going to really remember it, because you're going to have better races down along the calendar, which we had better races the previous, 7 races before we got here.
For you not to be upset about Monaco, you just got to understand what Monaco is. and what you get at Monaco, and you won't be upset. You just know that, as I said, the good thing about the Monaco Grand Prix, because it's always going to be a snooze fest, right? 99.9% of the time. And it's like what I said in your spaces. At least on the same weekend, after that snooze fest, you get to see the Indy 500.
The Indy 500.
Right.
And you have the MotoGP races there as well.
Yeah, right. So that's
plus you have BTCC. If you watch British Touring Car Championship, you have that on the weekend. So you have options.
I'll be more upset if Monaco was just the only racing on that weekend.
Yeah.
Can you imagine only have Monaco on a race? You're a race person. You're like us. We're racing guys, right? And then on a Sunday, we only have the Monaco Grand Prix. Nah. So
yeah.
I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
I know. Shout out to Alex Palou, man, winning the Indy 500 actually.
Yeah, and I mean Marcus Ericsson had a chance to win it, who then got sent to the back because his car was illegal. So even with an illegal car, he still didn't win it. But yeah, I mean,
because from what I'm understanding, I'm not really. I like the Indy 500. I like the IndyCar series, right? I watch a couple. I think I just need to tune in every Sunday or every race weekend and really watch it, because the races that I've seen have actually been fun.
Yeah, because
right?
I mean, it's a spec series. Let's be honest.
It's actually been fun, and and the Indy 500 is just one of them races where you never know who's going to win it, right? And as I said, I don't know the technicalities of it like how we know F1, right? But what I will say is that from my understanding is that the way he ended up winning the race, I think when he hit the front, right, he had two back markers that was just
in front of him. Yeah.
So it turns out that he was saving a lot of fuel compared to if they weren't there, probably would have never won. So by the time his team said to him, "Hey, you saved a lot of fuel, so you could just send it,
go to the end." Yeah, because by staying in the slipstream, he didn't have to use that much. There was less air resistance.
Yeah.
So you're not using that much fuel, and he can actually do his short shifting or whatever it is he needed to do. And again, I mean, he's not won 5 of the opening 6 races of the IndyCar Championship. He's slowly putting himself in the frame for that Cadillac seat.
Because look at this, right? What I was looking at was usually what you see in Indy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but very rare you see the driver that says winning the regular races throughout the season, right? Leading up to the Indy. Very rare you see that driver win the 500, right?
Correct.
It's always a random. So what he's done is actually great within itself, right?
Because I mean, people who've won the Indy 500. I think Alexander Rossi's won it. Marcus Ericsson has won it. Takuma Sato has won it. Elia Castroneves has won it. I believe Scott Dixon has won it. Will Power. And again, I think when those guys won, I'm not sure if they were actually, had a start to the season like Alex has had. Because like I said, he's won prior to the Indy, he won 4 of the opening 5 races.
Yeah.
And now he's won this one. That's 5 of 6. And like I said, if he's not in contention for that Cadillac seat, then I don't know what's going on. Because isn't he Australian?
No.
Yeah.
Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah, he's Spanish.
Yeah.
He's
there
Spanish.
you go.
Yeah, because he used to be in the feeder categories for F1.
Yeah. Because he used to race with Lando.
Yeah, so
I believe I saw something that said him and Lando, used to race or whatever it is. So, but like I said, if he's not being considered, because what he's doing right now, because I believe he won the championship last year, so he's looking to defend the title. And again, what he's doing this year is mad impressive.
Yep.
Mad impressive.
And
506, you cannot overlook him for that Cadillac seat.
Yeah, and it comes back to one of the things that we mentioned in your spaces, right? Was a lot of drivers who are sitting down winning feeder categories, coming as reserve drivers in F1, and just sitting there. Alas Dragovic, right? We spoke about Dragovic, right? And he's won he won F2 in what? GP2 in what?
I believe in 2021 or 2020 or something like that. Or something like that.
Sitting at Aston Martin for how long? Like, I don't think he's going to get to F1. So what Alex Palou is doing, he's showing, hey, you could go other places and go become a superstar.
Yeah.
Don't be sitting around waiting for these F1 teams who's probably not going to give you an F1 drive, a seat.
Yeah, I think at some point, somebody like Dragovic will have to make that decision, because he's what, like 25 now, I believe he is. He has to make that decision that, you know what, hanging around at Aston Martin isn't, because I still believe if Alonso decides to go, he's not going to get that. Dragovic is not going to get that seat. They're not going to promote him. They're going to look for somebody else.
Has there been another driver, previous championship of what that was F2, well, GP2 or now F2, right? That has sat that long, more than 3 years, and ended up in F1.
Not that I can think of, because didn't Pastor Maldonado win F2? I believe he won F2. He was in F2.
Yeah, he was a GP2 champion.
Yeah, he won. He was in Formula 1. Mick Schumacher got straight into Formula 1. George Russell got straight into Formula 1. Who else? I think the only, even Bortoleto got into Formula 1 even before him. I think the only person who I know of who's won F2 in the last, I don't know how many years, and not made it into Formula 1 was Davide Valsecchi. Yeah. So, Dragovic, he has a decision to make about his future, because like he said, he's been sitting at, I believe he won the F2 championship in either, I think it was 2021 he won the F2 championship, because I was making the case around then that Aston Martin should have looked to go into the new set of regulations with him and Lance Stroll, because they were starting to build something for the future, and having Alonso in the team is a short-term, I keep saying it, he's a short-term solution to a long-term goal. And when are you going to decide that enough is enough and you need to move on from
2022.
2022, okay. So it's been sitting there now for what? This is going to be his third year. Yeah. He's been out. I mean, he's done a couple
Friday practice
session, and he's what? He's the reserve driver. I mean, yeah.
Let's do this. All right. So we asked a question. I'm unsure. I doubt there is one, but for the listeners out there, you know of a driver that won the F2 or GP2 championship who has sat for more than 3 years, almost 3 years, who ended up in F1? Let us know. Comment on Twitter. Let us know, because I doubt it. And there's so many drivers. But look at even Antoine Fuqua, right?
Fuqua
making a name for himself in WEC.
Did he not win Le Mans last year?
Yeah.
Who does he look? I remember, who does he look like?
Dovizioso.
Yeah, I was saying that he looks like Dovizioso.
I'm like, man, this dude looks just like Andrea Dovizioso.
Yeah.
Like
So I've got a list here of F2 champions that's raced in F1, and so if you go from 2017, Charles, George, Nick De Vries, Mick Schumacher, Oscar Piastri won in 23. No. Okay. So Charles in 17, George 18, De Vries 19, Schumacher in 20. Well, Nick De Vries won it in 2019, right? But he didn't make his F1 debut until 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So, is that covers 3 years, or that's about just over 2 years? Yeah. So I think, but
maybe Nick De Vries is the one that sat the longest and ended up in F1.
Yeah,
So even if you put Nick De Vries as sitting over 2 years, there's no equation that I see that factors Dragovic in a F1 seat in the next year or two.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that door for him is somewhat closed right now. Because again, if
Hold on,
what's that?
Before I said, did I say Antoine or do I say I said it's Antonio Fuqua,
Antonio
right?
Fuqua. Yeah.
Did I say Antoine? Antoine is the movie director.
Antoine Fuqua, you're talking about the dude that direct what's that show with Denzel Washington again?
Did a bunch
Action.
of tough movies, bro.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So Antonio Fuqua, is it Fuqua?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's over there in he's a Le Mans champion. So sometimes you just gotta,
Yeah, obviously, because other people have
a lot
moved.
of time. I think a lot of people as well. A lot of these drivers with managers, man, they got managers who are not great managers who they don't know how to assess situations. They're not situationally aware.
Yeah, because if you look at someone like Theo Pourchaire, you know what I mean? He won it in 2023, and he's never made it to Formula One. Never made it, and he was one of those highly rated ones coming out of the series, but he has never made it to Formula. I mean, he was the reserve driver for Sauber, but that's it.
And there's another thing that we also have to take into consideration, right? This is good because we basically finished it at Monaco. It's just to add on some stuff, right? That are actually important stuff. And a lot of time, if you're not like a super talented, if you're not someone like a Antonelli, a Verstappen, a Lewis Hamilton coming up through the ranks, right? A Seb, a Raikkonen, even the same Alonso, if you're not if you're not that caliber, if you're not seen as that coming up through the ranks, and your timing is off in terms of when you win F2 championship, you're basically screwed.
You have to be in the moment. You have to be the right time, right place. Everything the stars have to align for you.
Yeah, because if you think about the top teams, if you think about Mercedes is set, Ferrari set for the next 2 years, right? Red Bull, I'm not sure where they go from here. They got Max, but yeah, we know there's a lot of talk in there, right?
Max goes, they're in trouble.
Then you have Aston Martin. So what I'm saying is that if you as an F2 driver don't win in and is good enough, and you don't win in that window, whereas like a top team or two top teams got like a driver who's on the way out, like Aston Martin with Alonso on his way out, right? We could even say Lewis is on his way out, right? That's a fair statement, right?
I think Lewis is out at the end of 27 anyway.
So if you're not a driver who's going to win and show like true potential in that window where there's possibly a Lewis is going to go, Alonso is going to go, right? And I'm talking about for a top team. You may find yourself missing the bus.
Yep.
Right?
And again, that's what happened to the likes of Davide Valsecchi.
Yeah, and that's being an okay driver.
Theo Pourchaire.
Yeah, and that's being an okay driver. If you're like, as I say, a top tier, you're going to find somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, sometimes okay drivers get into F1, as we say, it's all about timing.
I mean, let's see, Julian Palmer, even though he won F2, but he wasn't the greatest driver out there, but he made it to Formula One, and he raced Formula One for Renault, and pretty much that's it. Now he's in broadcasting. His career pretty much.
Yeah, so a lot of it has
went downhill from there.
Yeah, if you're not a top talent coming through the ranks, your timing got to be perfect to make it to F1.
You have to get there when there's a whole load of seats available.
Yes.
And Formula One seats are like gold dust.
Yeah, so So
They don't come along that often. Yeah, because once and again, when you have people like Alonso who seats don't, especially the seats don't change that much in the top half of the grid.
yeah,
It's the lower half where it changes a lot. So you have to be able to find yourself, to get yourself in one of those lower teams. You have to either be mad impressive or you come in with some serious sponsorship.
Yep.
Behind you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's off topic of just talking about getting to F1 and drivers who didn't make it, and drivers who moved on to make a career elsewhere, like as we said, like Alex Palou, Antonio Fuqua. Like, you know, there's other series that you could go be a superstar.
Of course.
And
I mean,
people well too. You know.
Yeah, people have moved. People have, you know, like I said, people have decided that, when they realize, look, the F1 door is not open, but it's still, F2 is still a shop window for other series. You can go and race it.
Yeah, and if you're as a driver, I know F1 is the dream, but if you're just a pure racer, just love racing, I'm sure you'll enjoy WEC.
Of course.
I'm sure you'll enjoy
or even
IndyCar. You know, because trust me, the World Endurance Championship is come a long way, and I love it, man. I love the racing. I love I even love the GT series part of it. Like, apart from the hypercars, I have you seen this video with the WEC cars going up?
Rouge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that video is impressive.
Yeah, you see the difference in speed.
I'm just like, man. Yeah, but yeah, that's it on the off topic. Yeah, Williams. Let's go wrap it up with Williams and rate the race.
I mean, Williams frustrate Mercedes the whole entire race.
You know, this is the first time Williams have scored points with their two cars in 20 years, right?
Really?
Yes. In the top 10.
Boy.
In the top 10.
Boy. Hold on. In 20 years.
In 20.
It can't be 20 years. Because even 2014, when they had the Mercedes power unit, it was
in the top 10.
In Monaco.
Huh?
In Monaco.
In Monaco, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like.
No, in Monaco.
Oh,
Monaco.
In 20 years.
20 years.
So the last time that happened was 2005.
Yeah.
So who drove for them into 2005 Monaco? Let me see the results. The BMW Williams, Nick Heidfeld and Mark Webber finished second and third. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It just shows you how bad the job. Because in 2014, you'd have thought when they had the Mercedes power unit, that would have been they would have been able to do that. But Bottas didn't finish the race; he had an engine problem, so they probably would have done it before that. But kudos to them. But in the race, they kind of they frustrated Mercedes because they played the game properly. In 1 point, Sainz drove as slowly as he possibly could to give Albon the opportunity to pit. Then Albon returned the favor. They had the Mercedes was stuck behind him for pretty much the whole entire race. That's why George took the mick and just started screw it. Just cut that Nouvelle chicane and just screw it, give me the penalty. And the funny thing about that was, right, he got the drive-through penalty. Still took 2 stops and he's still finishing P11.
For me, right, because I saw that a lot of noise was being made on social media in terms of how the race was ran, right? So I ain't got an issue when it's intra-team, when it's Williams helping. And what I have an issue is when teams like Red Bull try to use the V-carb.
The racing ball.
I don't agree with that. But if it's a Red Bull helping a Red Bull cool, a Mercedes, that's fine. Don't be having a whole different team just because you part own them or whatever it is.
Not part own them, you fully own them, because that was one of the things Branda mentioned in commentary that
I don't dig that.
He wanted to see if they're going to use the Hajar to hinder the McLarens in it just so as to help Max out. And I thought, yeah, if that happens, then we've already been screaming that this rule needs to be torn up, that Red Bull can't own two teams because they can drastically influence a race if they own a second team.
I don't think in any competitive sport, one person or one company should own two teams in terms of if they compete in the same sport.
Yeah, right. I don't agree with it, but
it should be a thing.
I don't agree with it, but they've kind of like the horse has left the stable or the stall already, and they can't catch it to bring it back in. So, because I mean, even Zach Brown have made the argument that they shouldn't own two teams, but
yeah, you shouldn't.
You know, so Williams did what they needed to do that race. I think they frustrated the hell out of Mercedes, even though I don't think Mercedes would have. Well, maybe they probably could have jumped one of them. Yeah, they probably would have jumped one of them if they had the opportunity to, because I think they had the pace to do it. But Williams played the game perfectly, and like you said, it's the first double point scoring at Monaco for 20 years. So kudos to them.
Yeah, and so let's rate the race.
What was the last race we had? Imola.
Yeah.
Didn't rate Imola that highly. I believe I gave Imola 5 or 6 or something like that. Yeah, so I'm giving the Monaco Grand Prix a negative 30. Just say it was terrible and let's move on.
It's for me. It's unrated. I have no ratings, whether it be negative or positive for it. It's just a GP. It's just a race. I was like, right. I have no ratings to give to it. You know, as I said, because I know what it is, I just have to just live with it and know that every year it comes around. If I wake up in time to watch it, I may have to watch it just for the podcast, but just know that, okay, just bide my time. Just live through it, because I know the Indy 500 is on a couple hours later in the day. And MotoGP was probably on. So I'm glad that it's sandwiched between two things, which is MotoGP first, right? And then the Indy 500 after. So I'm cool with it. So I have no ratings for the Monaco GP. It's just there for me. Cool.
Yeah.
And we actually pushed over an hour.
I don't know. We managed that.
It's crazy. But yeah, we're gonna wrap. Once again, thank y'all for listening to the Grand Prix Project podcast. Right, this has been the 2025 Monaco Grand Prix review. We managed to survive it. So yeah, for anyone who listens, we appreciate you. Please go follow us on our socials, the GP Project Pod on X, Grand Prix Project Podcast on Instagram. Right, we also on YouTube, the Grand Prix Project Pod. And yeah, just give us a like, give us a comment, give us a follow. You know, if there's anything that you listen and you may want to chime in, just at us on X, right? Please watch the YouTube videos. We're starting to release videos now. As I said, we appreciate everyone that listens. We just touched 1,000 downloads. We just reached 1,000 downloads. So everyone who's been downloading and listening, we really do appreciate it, right? Because when we started out, you know, they say most podcasts fail after. Well, the stats is that most podcasts fail after the 3rd episode. Most people don't go beyond the 3rd episode.
We're on 8. Actually, we're more than 8.
No, we. No.
I mean, for F1, we're on more than 8 because we did a test. Didn't we do a test review? And a season
total MotoGP and F1. I think when we drop this and the MotoGP, we're gonna be at episode 18. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There you go.
So we appreciate everyone who's been listening. Trust me when I say we do. For everyone who started out with us, you know, because there's a lot of other things out there that you could listen. You choose to listen to us too. So we do appreciate it, right? And
listening to our unimportant opinions.
That matters, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's it. That's it from me. Andre Miller, your host, with the co-host.
Thanos. Remember, I have the Infinity Stone, so please go and download or else I'll come and look for you. I do like Thanos did Iron Man and throw a planet at you. Be warned.
All right, and I appreciate everyone. Thank you. Catch up next time. We out.
For the Spanish Grand Prix review. Hopefully that should be much better than this one that we just had.
Yep. All right.
We out.
Take care, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Grand Prix Project podcast.